Well, good morning and welcome to this day after our Independence Day holiday, July 5th. I'm Steve Hare, guest hosting your Wake Up Wenatchee Valley program today for Dan Kuntz, who's taking the day off, much deserved. And of course, he'll be back tomorrow, rise and shine here, just as he normally does as the regular host of our Wake Up Wenatchee Valley program. What a great day it was yesterday in the Wenatchee Valley, certainly celebrating our nation's birthday with a big fireworks display down at the Walla Walla Point Park. Of course, a lot of people enjoyed that big show, and the good news is, folks, is that there were no problems with fireworks overnight, okay? Except for one small little fire that broke out along the railroad tracks out near Entiat. It was event-free in terms of any fireworks-related fires. So that's good news, and the band has worked, and everything went according to plan, except for my neighbors, of course, who didn't get the word that firecrackers are illegal. So if I seem a little drowsy this morning, maybe that's what it's all about. Had a lot of fireworks going off last night. Some of them were pretty loud. I think they were using artillery simulators in my neighbor's yard last night. It was so loud, but anyway, no worse for wear, and here I am sitting in for Dan Kuntz. We have a pretty good show for you this morning. I think we have a great guest, by the way, in the second half hour. He's running for a position on the Chelan County Superior Court bench. His name is Charles Steinberg. He's a candidate. He'll be talking to us in the second half hour about his campaign and some of the qualities and experience he brings to that position. So we're glad to have him join us this morning. Again, Charles Steinberg, our guest in the second half hour. Of course, this being Thursday, it's Pet of the Week, our canine cameo, if you will. Megan McPherson was at the Humane Society earlier this week to get a little look at our Pet of the Week. So we'll share that with you. Also, Mike McDonough's. Everybody's entitled to Mike Magnotti's opinion. That, of course, a regular feature on our show. That's coming up at the bottom of the hour as well. And we also have our news, a lot of news to get to this morning, recapping last night's big show at Walla Walla Point Park. And it was kind of a mirror image of what you saw at Walla Walla Point Park. They had a big display up in Manson, another big show out in Brewster. And we'll share a little snippets of those fireworks shows for you too. That's coming up a little bit later in the program with a full recap of all of our news stories from yesterday, including some consternation on the part of our tree fruit industry here in Washington State as the trade war starts to ramp up between the U.S., China, Mexico, and Canada. And at this point, it looks like our tree fruit industry is something of a pawn in this whole chess game they call a trade war. So anyway, we'll learn more about that coming up. Also, good news on the fire front, the Baird Springs fire that really got this holiday weekend to a hot start is now fully contained and virtually out at this time, but we'll have a recap of that coming up for you as well. Right now, I think it's time to take a look at our Valley View cameras around the area, courtesy of Sky-Fi, high-speed wireless. And of course, we start our morning out with our opening shot of the Wenatchee Valley, looking down on it from the Wenatchee Heights in our cross cam. Always a beautiful, beautiful scene to start our day here in the Wenatchee Valley. And what a way, and what a place to live, huh? Looks like a postcard this morning there, looking out across the Columbia River. Wenatchee on your left, East Wenatchee on your right, and the river runs through it, as they say. There's the pedestrian overpass pipeline bridge and the Senator George Seller Bridge there in the foreground. And everything looks pretty good this morning. As far as the weather's concerned, looks like we've rounded the corner. No more wind in the forecast. It was a gorgeous day yesterday in the Wenatchee Valley. Temperatures there reaching into the mid to upper 80s. And of course today we could see our first hot day of the summer. In fact, we're looking at temperatures in the mid 90s today for the first time this summer. So again, get the sunglasses out and the sunscreen and just make sure you're well protected against the heat of the afternoon. Also, here looking down, and you'll have to help me out with this one. I think it's Steins Hill, the monitor camera looking down on the Highway 2 as it makes its way up through the Upper Valley and the Wenatchee River there, winding its way down from Leavenworth there on your left. And of course, all the orchards now full of fruit and ready to pick, especially the cherry orchards right now that are in full harvest right now. So again, say good morning here to the Upper Wenatchee Valley, looking up towards the Cascades and Mount Stewart, and of course Cashmere there, and Monitor in the foreground. Moving on now. Where are we now? Hose Landing, looking down on Eniats across the river there. And here in the foreground, you can see Highway 97 with 97A on the other side of the river. Had a little bit of fire up in that location yesterday or last night up in the Eniat area along the railroad tracks. Motorists were commenting on that, and we have a Facebook video to share on that coming up on our newscast. But just a beautiful day to start the day in Eniat as we look up the Eniat River up towards Ardенbohr. Beautiful day, and as you can see there too, no smoke from that smoky fire that we had last week. That fire also is fully contained, so that's good news starting off our summer wildfire season. Nothing burning right now here in the north central Washington area, and sure hope we can keep it that way. Also, is this the Nattipock Ridge? Nattipock Ridge looking down on the forest right now. As you can see, that clear-cut corridor for the high power lines making its way across the mountains there. Just a beautiful look at the forested landscape here of Chelan County from Nattipock Ridge. And that again, our Valley View cameras. Thank you to Sky-Fi High-Speed Wireless for providing us with our, oh gosh, we have a multitude of cameras all over the Wenatchee Valley. And we make use of those, first of all, in the Wake Up Wenatchee Valley program to start our day, and also very, very useful in news reporting as well, as we use those to cover the Baird Springs fire recently and other breaking events around the valley. So we do have that catbird seat, if you will, here in the Wenatchee Valley with our Valley View cams. Thanks to Sky-Fi for providing that to us. We have a lot more coming up this morning, including our news on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. But first of all, let's take a look at our weather forecast for today. And what a beautiful week we have here, or the end of the week, I should say. Starting out today, our Thursday, the day after the 4th, 95 are expected high today. So again, today and Friday will be very warm with highs in the mid-80s and 90s. Could be our first mid-90-degree day of the year. Now, a cold front will bring showers and thunderstorms to the area on Friday night. That's according to my forecast here. Saturday, they're expecting to be a bit cooler, but then temperatures for Sunday and next week will be mainly in the 80s. As we can see here, the mid to upper 80s expected. A weather system could bring a chance of showers over the northern mountains on Monday and Tuesday of next week. For the most part, here in Wenatchee, what you see is what you're going to get. A lot of sunshine, a lot of heat, and of course, nighttime lows will be dipping down into that, well, moderate range of upper 50s to low 60s, and that stays pretty consistent throughout the work week with mostly clear skies during the evening hours. You may see a few clouds tomorrow night, possibly some thunder cells as well, but nothing of any real consequence expected here in the Wenatchee area. But just be aware of it, and possibly with lightning we could get some rain as well through those areas that receive the lightning and thunder. Again, that's our forecast for today. We have a lot more coming up, including our local news, and we're pleased to share with you a sponsor for our local news now. It's Cascade Medical Center joining us as our family of sponsors right now. You can train with a physical therapist who loves the outdoors as much as you do. Cascade Medical, Partners in Health.
The physical therapists at Cascade Medical love the outdoors as much as you do. But sometimes where there's love, there's also pain. Let us help you get back to the activities that you love. Cascade Medical, partners in your health.
RLS Productions presents Concerts in the Gardens held at Omi Gardens this coming summer, featuring the Infinity Project, a Journey tribute band, Too Slim and the Taildraggers, the Wenatchee Swingin' Big Band, the Peter Rivera Band, and Invisible Touch, a Phil Collins tribute band. The objectives of the series are to increase midweek tourism to the Wenatchee Valley, the development of a world-class series overlooking the Wenatchee Valley, along with awarding annual scholarships to Wenatchee Valley College students. RLS Productions would like to thank their supporters and volunteers for helping make this all possible.
And now it's time for your local news update with Steve Hare.
It's a Thursday, July 5th. Here's what's happening around north central Washington. First of all, Wenatchee celebrated the nation's birthday in grand fashion last night with a huge fireworks show at Walla Walla Point Park. Boy, a great show, and with the accompaniment, of course, of the Wenatchee Symphony Orchestra. So not many communities have that type of a show to present. But again, NCW Live cameras were there at Walla Walla Point Park to cover all the oohs and ahs. In fact, the patriotic scene at Walla Walla Point Park was played out in other communities as well, including Manson. And here is a shot of Brewster, provided to us by John Weiss on Facebook overnight. Luckily, there were no reports of any fireworks-related fires. Rivercom emergency dispatchers say it was a quiet evening except for the sound of sporadic blast of illegal fireworks, although we did have a report of a fire up in the Aniat area overnight. This is a Facebook video shared by Michael Barboza Jr., and this is as they were driving up 97A, just passing the railroad tracks here. As you can see that fire burning along the side of the road, along the railroad tracks. Again, we checked in with Rivercom Emergency Dispatch this morning, and they tell us that that fire was put out relatively quickly and didn't pose any threat to any structures. So again, possibly fireworks related. So again, we can see there just how dangerous it can be here in the Wenatchee Valley, especially with this weather and dry conditions. So folks, please stay away from the fireworks. Also, in a related story here, the Baird Springs fire was declared 100% contained yesterday after getting the holiday off to a hot start Tuesday afternoon. In fact, it was all hands on deck in the Trinidad area. Fire crews from all over the region converged on that fire as part of a state mobilization order. In fact, this video shared on Facebook by Manson volunteer firefighters who were responding to that fire in mutual aid. The fire started around 3:30 in the afternoon Wednesday, or rather Tuesday, and it had spread to about 500 acres of mostly grass, brush, wheatland on lands in both Douglas and Grant counties. Now, SR 28 between Rock Island and Quincy was closed due to heavy smoke and fire traffic late Tuesday. The roadway, though, is open now. Motorists were advised during that fire to stay clear of the area. It's always a good idea anyway. When you see a fire and that it's affecting traffic, that means that if there's any congestion, that makes it slower access for firefighting equipment. So be aware of that, folks, when you're out and around and you know that there's a fire burning. Try to comply with the advisories that are issued by the Highway Patrol to stay clear of those areas. Also, at one point, 3 evacuation notices were issued for the Baird Springs fire. Several homes in that area, but they were downgraded to level 1 yesterday. And again, that fire now fully contained. Meanwhile, a tragic story to share. The voice of the Moses Lake Chiefs baseball team, Mel Olson, has died at the age of 89. Olson, unfortunately, was riding his bicycle inside the Harvest Manor Estates on Airway Drive in Moses Lake when he was struck by a pickup truck. According to the Grant County Sheriff's Office, Olson approached an intersection as a Chevy, driven by Mario Fernandez Hinojos, entered the same roadway. Now, the two did not see each other apparently, and the Chevy struck the bicycle, throwing Olson off the bike. Olson then was transported with a serious head injury to Samaritan Hospital in Moses Lake, where he died Tuesday afternoon. Deputies say alcohol and drugs were not a factor in the collision and that Olson was wearing a helmet. The accident is under investigation. There are no charges at this time. Elsewhere this morning, what's left of the old Cascade High School in Leavenworth is currently in the process of demolition as the school district makes way for a new high school this fall. The old administration offices and rest of the building will be torn down over the next few days. And then final phase is the construction of the athletic wing that connects the academic wing with the existing gymnasiums. And the new high school will also feature a new theater, which will provide retractable, comfortable seating for about 500 people. The academic wing, the administrative offices, the library, and the rest of the newly constructed campus will be ready for students on August 28th of this year. Phase 2 will be completed in January of next year. Also, the Northwest tree fruit industry finds itself in the role of pawn in the growing U.S. trade war with China. What have up until now been just threats of trade sanctions become a reality this weekend, folks, when Chinese tariffs on U.S. cherries goes into effect. Couldn't come at a worse time. Growers will be hit with a 25% tariff on top of the 40% duty that was already being taxed by China on our exports. Senator Maria Cantwell proposed adding $6 million to the U.S. Farm Bill for export programs such as MAP or the Market Access Program to help open new overseas markets to help mitigate the loss. She commented on that in a Senate floor speech last week.
Our ag economy is so important to us in the Pacific Northwest. This bill is helping us make a down payment on it and giving us a little flexibility, but I'm going to take the Secretary of Agriculture at his word today when I heard him on television saying he's going to mitigate any kind of damage being done to farmers based on tariffs. I'm going to hold him at his word, and believe me, as we move this legislation through the process, I'm going to make sure that every tool is available for the great products that we grow in Washington State. I want them to reach market destinations. I don't want them to be retaliated against in a trade war. Thank you, Madam President, and I yield the floor.
Senator Maria Cantwell again proposed adding $6 million to the U.S. Farm Bill for those export programs. Meanwhile, the Wenatchee World reports that Cantwell met recently with representatives of the tree fruit industry. In that meeting, it was reported that Stamilt Growers export sales manager Dave Martin said, quoting here, "There's only so many homes in the world where we can put this crop. We can only sell so much of it here in the U.S. There are airplanes for China planned for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week." Now, the Tuesday meeting with growers followed a tour of the Columbia Fruit Packers packing house this past week. It was back in March that 4th District Congressman Dan Newhouse met with a group of growers in East Wenatchee to discuss trade issues, along with other matters of concern to the ag industry in north central Washington. Trade sanctions are also looming for Mexico and Canada as negotiations on a new North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, start to heat up. Well, on a lighter note this morning, people of all ages made a stop at the Pybus Public Market on Wednesday to participate in the 5th annual Cherry Pit Spitting Contest. Contestants were given 3 cherries each at the concourse with a section of the floor roped off for the competition. With professional tobacco spitters ineligible, a wide array of methods were used to get the pit down the course. First-timer Keith Kirkpatrick, though, said he brought his previous experience spitting watermelon seeds to this year's competition.
First time for cherry pit spitting contest. Been reading about in the paper the events today, and so I told my wife Marilyn that I had won the watermelon seed spitting in college during Western Day or Western Week, And so I knew I've practiced spitting cherry pits also.
In the house the other night.
The pit's a little bigger and rounder and rolls further, but I consciously tried to get it at the end of my tongue and maybe curl my tongue a little bit and then get a lot of wind.
I think that went out of bounds until he says it's a win.
I knew he had skill, so I expected him to do well.
So we're on our motorcycle, and we were actually planning to go to George to see some of their events, but I said, I want to do the cherry pit spitting. So didn't know what the traffic would be like going towards George. So we came here, and I'm glad I did.
Guy's got some skills, doesn't he? Keith Kirkpatrick. Also, curious about the top-notch competition? Well, I'll tell you what, we've compiled a video of a number of the competitors.
Well, look for it tomorrow.
So not only do we have the top-notch quality cherries here in the Wenatchee area, but also some pretty darn good spitters, too. Congratulations to the winners, by the way. I don't think there's any losers there because they always get to eat the cherries along with spitting out the pits. Great day here on the July 5th Wake Up Wenatchee Valley program. I'm Steve here. We have a lot more coming up today, including our regular features with our, well, we don't have an obscure holiday, but we'll have a special note to share with you coming up on this July 5th. Also a lot more coming up. We have Megan McPherson with her Pet of the Week. That's coming up. Our canine cameo, if you will. Also Mike Magnotti's opinion. Everybody's entitled to it, whether you want it or not. That's coming up too a little bit later. And of course, a lot more, including our guest interview. Joining us in the second half hour will be Charles Steinberg, who's running for the bench on the Chelan County Superior Courts. Right now, let's take a look at what you can do to help me out, get news on the air here at NCW Life. Of course, you can contact us any number of ways. First of all, at ncwlife.com on our webpage. You can contact us at our social media sites on Facebook and Twitter. We also have our email address, which is basically the best way to get in touch with us. The address is news@ncwlife.com. And if you see breaking news happening, let us know about it on our hotline. That's 888-NCWL. 888-6295 for the NCW Life News Hotline. Also, folks, make use of that Facebook page, too. It's a great way to get information, video, and other information to us as well. Make good use of that, and of course, let us share it on the air, too. That'd be neat. Hey, we'll be right back with more on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley for this July 5th, a Thursday.
It's a free walk-in job search assistance center. It is designed to help job seekers with the tools that they need to find a job. We have partnered with libraries in 5 other cities providing the same types of services that we offer here, just there.
Just walk in, we have laptops, and we can help you with resume, cover letter.
All of our services are paid for by the revenues earned in our store. Goodwill is just a tool that the community is using to help their neighbors find a job. Goodwill, there's more behind the store.
I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCW Life channel.
I'm Eric Grandstrom with NCW Life Sports.
I'm NCW Life News Director Steve Hare.
Catch us on LocalTel Channel 12.
You can watch us on Charter Channel 19 or stream us live on ncwlife.com.
Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.
Where we cover the local high schools, the Wenatchee Wild, and the pro teams out of Seattle.
On Saturday, we have a 90% chance of rain.
Catch it all right here on the NCW Life channel.
Welcome back to a Thursday, July 5th, Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Again, I'm Steve Hare, sitting in for Dan Kuntz, who's taking the day off. He'll be back tomorrow morning in this same chair. Now, normally at this time, Dan would be giving you the sports. Well, that's what I'm going to do right now. Our sports recap from Wednesday. First of all, it's, well, the end of a streak for the Mariners, who had won 7 games in a row prior to yesterday. Cole Calhoun hit a 2-run home run. Garrett Richards pitched effectively into the 6th inning, and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim beat the Mariners 7-4 Wednesday to snap our 8-game winning streak. Batting in the leadoff spot for only the 4th time this season, Calhoun had 3 hits and drove in 3 runs. Calhoun's towering home run in the 6th gave the Angels a 6-2 lead. He also had a single in the 4th inning for his first RBI. The Mariners had their chances, including a bases-loaded no-out situation in the 7th inning when trailing 6-3 after D. Gordon and Denard Span struck out. Gene Segura stepped to the plate, hit a broken bat flare that looked like it might drop behind second base and score 2 runs. But Angels second baseman David Fletcher made a leaping catch, circus catch, to end the inning. The Mariners struck out 15 times and left 8 men on base. So again, the win streak is over. Angels win 7-4. They got 13 hits to the Mariners 10. 1 error. The M's had 2 errors. The winner went to Garrett Richards. The loser, Mike Leake. Now, the loss puts the Mariners a game and a half behind the Houston Astros, who won yesterday. The Mariners conclude their series with the Angels tonight, starting at 7 p.m. at Safeco Field. Also, the Apple Sox wrapped up their 7-game homestand with a 5-2 win over the Yakima Valley Pippins last night at Paul Thomas Senior Field. Sox took 2 of 3 from the Pippins and won 4 of 7 in the homestand, thanks to a strong effort on the mound. Hunter Boyd, who's now got a record of 2-1, allowed 2 runs over 6 innings to pick up the victory, and Dawson Day shut out the Pippins with 6 strikeouts over the final 3 frames to pick up his first save of the season. Now, the Sox scored in the 1st inning for the 2nd time in this series. To begin the scoring, Joey Magro singled to center. Jacob Prater was hit by a pitch, and then Johnny Sage plated Magro with a single. Connor McCord fouled out on the 3rd base side, but with no one covering home, Prater used some heads-up base running to dart home and score on the sacrifice fly. The Pippins got singular runs in the 2nd and 3rd innings to tie up the score. That was all that they would get in the game. And the Apple Sox got some insurance in the 8th with 2 more runs after Sage reached on the fielder's choice and McCord doubled. Taylor put down a bunt. The throw came home, but Sage had slid in safely before it for a run. During Cody Darcy's at-bat, McCord was caught in a rundown between 3rd base and home plate, but would score after the Pippins catcher airmailed the throw into left field. After getting Thursday off, the Apple Sox go on the road for the first time in 2 weeks. They'll face off against Walla Walla Sweets for the first of 3 games on Friday, starting at 6:35 p.m. That's your sports recap for our Thursday morning Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Again, I'm Steve Hare, sitting in for Dan Kuntz this morning, who's taking the day off. And at this point in time in the program, Dan normally moves on, I believe, to his obscure holiday. We don't have one today for you, folks. I checked the internet to see what kind of weird holiday someone's celebrating today, but the only obscure holiday I could come up with, and it's too obscure for me to even share. No, I'm kidding. It's, what is it? World Slovak Appreciation Day. Okay? Everybody has to have a day, so today is the Slovak Day. But instead of our obscure holiday, I thought I'd kind of change things up a little bit because I came across an interesting article yesterday on Facebook, and it was shared with us by the Wenatchee Valley Museum and Cultural Center. Here we have it showing you right now. Kind of an interesting picture of a woman there with an American flag. Well, there's a little history here, folks, that I want to share with you this morning. This flag that you're seeing here was sewn locally here in the Wenatchee Valley. It was to be flown on the first 4th of July celebration in 1890. This after Washington State was admitted to the Union in 1889. Okay, it had been ordered by the Grand Army of the Republic and the Women's Relief Corps, and the Parkers, the family, the Parkers had the only sewing machine in Wenatchee. She finished sewing that flag at about 2:30 in the morning on July 4th, raised early that morning by Mattie Parker. The flag billowed in the breeze throughout the celebration. And again, here is the flag displayed years later by Mrs. Bob Dye, who, isn't that amazing? Amazing historic picture. Thanks to the Wenatchee Valley Museum and Cultural Center for sharing that with us this morning. Also, we'd like to move on our program to our next feature, which is, of course, famous events that occurred on this date in history, July 5th. First one, 81 years ago today, Hormel Foods introduces their mystery luncheon meat. We all affectionately know it as Spam. Spam, what are the basic ingredients of that wonderful meal? It's pork, ham, salt, water, and potato starch with sodium nitrate added as a preservative. The difficulty of delivering fresh meat to the front during World War II saw Spam become a basic part of the GI's diet. Spam is especially popular in the state of Hawaii, where residents have the highest per capita consumption in the U.S. Spam developed on this date in history. It was on July 5th of 1971, 47 years ago, the 26th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, lowering the voting age from 21 to 18 is formally certified by President Nixon, seen here signing the bill. It took only 3 months and 2 days from the time Congress submitted the 26th Amendment to the states until it was ratified, the quickest ratification ever in history. 43 states have ratified the 26th Amendment: Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, and Utah have not. Also, it was 9 years ago, July 5th of 2009, while strolling through the recently plowed farm of Fred Johnson in central England with a metal detector, Terry Herbert discovers 244 items made of gold buried in the ground. Over the course of the next 3 years, over 3,500 objects made of gold and silver during the 7th century were eventually excavated at that site. Johnson, the landowner, and Herbert, the discoverer, would sell the hoard to 2 museums for 3.3 million British pounds. That's the equivalent of $4.5 million US dollars. Whoa, quite a find. Okay, it's time for our birthdays today. That was our Today in History. Who's celebrating birthdays today? Well, he would have if he was alive. P.T. Barnum founded the Barnum and Bailey Circus in 1871, died at the age of 90 in 1891. Today would have been his birthday. Widely credited with coining the adage, "There's a sucker born every minute," although no evidence can be found of him actually saying that, but he's credited with saying it. Just before his death in April of 1891, the local newspaper printed his obituary at his request so he could read it. Interesting. Also, celebrating another birthday today, Dan Kuntz provided me with this, big Yankee fan, of course. And of course, relief pitcher for 9 Major League Baseball teams over a 22-year career from 1972 to 1994. Let's say happy birthday to the Goose. Rich Goose Gossage, who turned 67 today, played his final game on August 8th of 1994, earning his 310th career save as a member of our Seattle Mariners. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2008. Hey, we got a lot coming up now. We got Megan McPherson, who's joining us at the bottom of the hour with our weekly Pet of the Week feature for the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society. That's coming up next. We also have Everybody's Entitled to Mike Magnotti's Opinion. My guest coming up here in our interview segment will be Charles Steinberg. He's a candidate running for Chelan County Superior Court Judge. That and more, a lot more, coming up on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley.
Megan here with the NCW Life Channel. We are here with Renee Parkins, the Development Officer of the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society. And we're also here with Molly, the dog. Can you tell us about Molly?
Sure. Molly is a younger dog. She is just sweet. She knows some basic general commands. She will sit, as you can see. She's very treat motivated and just overall all-around sweet dog. Molly.
And how is she with kids and other dogs?
Her paperwork says she is good with kids. Possibly with cats she might need some socialization, but she is good with kids. I think with dogs also she would be great with some socialization. She's pretty friendly. We've been kind of watching her as the other dogs have been talking next door, and she seems to want to go play with them.
Yeah.
So.
And what kind of home life would she need?
So Molly will need a home that has an outdoor area for her. She needs to be outside. She does have some energy, so she isn't going to be a kind of dog you want to leave inside while you're gone or at work. She does need a family that is going to take her out for hikes and runs and things like that. So, hi Molly.
If someone wanted to adopt Molly, what are the steps they should take?
You should come down and meet Molly. That's always the first thing that we recommend. Just make sure that the dog's going to be the right fit for your family and your household. We do have some great adoption counselors who know the dogs pretty well and who can kind of help answer questions. And then from there, if that seems to be the good fit and Molly is the perfect dog for you in your house, then you just fill out the adoption paperwork and she can go home with you.
Awesome.
Molly, what do you have to say for yourself?
Good girl.
The Wenatchee Valley Humane Society is located at 1474 South Wenatchee Avenue and is open Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Give them a call at 509-662-9577 or visit their website at wenatcheehumane.org. This has been Kennel Cameos at the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society.
I have a doctor who knows what they're talking about.
It's just so much more hands-on and friendly than anywhere else I've ever been.
It's really great to walk into somewhere where you feel welcomed and you feel accepted.
We've just been grateful for the care and respect that we've been given there.
And here when I come to visit my doctor, I'm not afraid to ask questions.
It's not just about getting you in and out.
I love my care at CVCH. It's awesome. Give it a try.
The Arbiter of Stoke is a series that highlights a variety of outdoor adventure sports that are available in the Pacific Northwest. I dedicate my time to enjoying this natural playground. The decision is yours. How will you keep your stoke?
Walk and Roll Wenatchee's Asian Express is fast, fresh food. Wenatchee Roll's new Poke Hawaiian Fresh Salad Bar is the best. Fresh greens, fresh seafood, and handmade sauces. You know what you want. At Walk and Roll, create your own style meal. Hot off the line chicken, beef, and veggie plates. Lunch or dinner to match your appetite. Fresh sushi, hot entrees, Poke Fresh Salad Bar. It's new. It's Walk and Roll Wenatchee, fast, fresh food your way. Located on 5th and Mission.
Hi everyone, Brent. Hey, don't mind, we're just making a commercial here, Randall. You're okay. Hi everyone, Brent here. You're gonna love this. When you see this, come down and see us behind Nissan. I can do it. I can do it. The all-new 2018 Nissan. That's done, I'm done. We can't do it. Come down and see us at Town Nissan behind Costco in East Wenatchee. Better performance, better proof.
If you want to work in healthcare, choose the program that teaches the skills employers want. The Charter College Medical Assistant Program combines hands-on learning in the lab with convenient online learning, plus real-life experience with an externship. Classes start every 5 weeks, so you don't have to wait to launch your new career. Enroll with confidence, knowing Charter is institutionally accredited by the Accrediting Bureau of Health Education Schools, and be ready to work in less than a year. Charter College. We work to get you to work.
Hey there, Wenatchee. I'm Sean Lee, and I'm inviting you to come down and check out what we're all about at Badger Mountain Brewing.
Great beer, good food, and an endless source of entertainment for the whole family. Our Honey Blonde beer is flying off the shelves at your local grocery store. But I tell you what, it's even better on tap. And while you're here, try our signature Badger sauce with one of our delicious meals. Whether you're in the mood for a wrap, salad, pizza, or nachos, Badger Mountain Brewing has what you're looking for.
This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, in grade school, I was taught that George Washington never told a lie. Really? Never? I mean, come on. And then I was taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Well, no, he didn't, okay? Eric the Red probably got here 500 years earlier, and it wasn't even North America where Christopher Columbus landed, okay? And here's another good one. Native Americans and Pilgrims ate turkey on the first Thanksgiving. I don't think so. Who makes up this stuff, and why did they cram it down my throat when I was too young to challenge them? And you want to know what else? Another huge lie that I was told? I have searched numerous people-seeking sites. I have used many search engines, and I've looked all over the internet, and I can't even find one person named John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, let alone two. Now, I say it's time to promote honesty in education. This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
Vamanos junk haulers are pleased to announce they've added moving services to their list of ways to make your life easier. Vamanos Moving Service. No move is too big or small. In fact, Vamanos does it all. Vamanos employees are experienced at moving your home, office, business, and storage. They'll carefully load and unload your belongings. And for the do-it-yourselfers, Vamanos also rents trucks and cargo trailers. Call Vamanos Junk Haulers and Moving Service today to schedule your free estimate.
Boating is a great way to bring family and friends together. At Bob File Boats and Motors, they have the boats for any lifestyle: fishing, wakeboarding, or just relaxing on the water. Buying a new boat is more affordable than you might think at Bob File Boats and Motors. Online at bobfile.com or on Sunset Highway in East Wenatchee.
Bob File Boats and Motors, we're dealing. Bob File's gonna make you smile.
We're here to celebrate every season with award-winning dining, full-service spa, and 170 waterfront guest rooms. Come experience our tradition of hospitality at Campbell's Resort on Lake Chelan.
When you call Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning, you get 35 years of experience and customer service in the Wenatchee Valley. Dick's friendly staff strongly believe in repairing before replacing and service all major brands of HVAC units. Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning is your local, independent, trained comfort specialists, proudly serving all of North Central Washington. Call 884-6444 today.
Welcome back to the program. Again, I'm Steve Hare, your guest host for Wake Up Wenatchee Valley today. Dan Kuntz will be back in the chair tomorrow after taking a day off. Right now is our interview segment of the program, and joining me live in studio to talk about his candidacy for the Chelan County Superior Court bench is Charles Steinberg. He's running as a candidate again, and let's welcome him to the program. Charles, thank you for coming in at such an early hour.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
I know it's difficult sometimes to get people in here at this time of the day, but hey, how's it going?
It's going very well.
Good,
it's going very well.
Been wearing out a little shoe leather there?
Wearing out a little shoe leather, doorbelling in South Wenatchee, Aniat, getting up to Manson, and getting around the community.
Well, that is probably the most important thing you can do as a candidate here in North Central Washington, because really it is a one-on-one campaign, correct?
It is a one-on-one campaign, myself versus Governor Inslee's appointee, Kristen Ferreira. What I find when I meet people at their doorstep doorbelling, I find that people really want someone that follows the law and is basically fair and open-minded. One of the more interesting doorbelling experience I had was when I went to the door of one house, and the gentleman that answered the door says, "Well, I'm a felon and I can't vote at all, but we do have 4 registered voters here in the house, and when Pop gets home from work, I'll be sure to share your literature with him." And I appreciate that honesty.
Interesting. Charles Steinberg running for the judge position in the Chelan County Superior Court. To give you a little background right now, the presiding judge right now is Kristen Ferreira. She was appointed to that position by Governor Inslee, and now that seat comes up for election in this round of elections. Charles, you were also named, as I understand, by the Chelan Douglas Bar Association as a qualified candidate for that position as well when the governor was making his appointments.
Yes, I was named as a qualified position from the Chelan County Bar Association, and additionally, I also was named as well qualified by the Washington State Veterans Bar Association, and I was also rated as well qualified by the Washington State Latino and Latina Bar Association. And just last Friday, I was rated as exceptionally well qualified by the Washington State Small Business Council and Building North Central Washington for this position.
You're an attorney right now in the Wenatchee Valley.
Correct.
How long have you been practicing?
I've been practicing law here in Wenatchee for the last 24 years. In May of 1994, moved over here with my wife Joni. Joni was born and raised here, and Steve Clem was nice enough to give a guy still wet behind the ears from us law practicing. Steve Clem was nice enough to give me a job working with him for a while, and then later working with Neil Fuller. And then I've owned my own business for the past 22 years, representing many people throughout our county, in our courts throughout the state.
Well, there's been quite a bit of turnover here in the Wenatchee Valley. You mentioned Steve Clem as the outgoing chief prosecutor for Douglas County. He's leaving office this year as well.
Yeah.
So again, let's talk about your experience and first of all your background. And I'm sure our viewers would like to learn more about your experience, your schooling, and such.
Yeah. Well, I went to the University of Washington, got a degree in history, and then went to law school at Willamette University College of Law. I worked for the state of Oregon Construction Contractors Board, prosecuting bad contractors that were doing things in violation of the contracting laws in Oregon. In Oregon, I also taught professors and also taught law students in this thing called, back then it was called LexisNexis Online Legal Research Tools, using Boolean search logic and those types of terms. And then right out of law school, moved here to Wenatchee, worked with Steve Clem and Neil Fuller, criminal law, family law, And then in '96, I opened up my own small business, mainly doing plaintiff personal injury, real estate law, land use, property rights. And then I also volunteer for the Northwest Religious Liberty Association, and I won an award from an international organization. King County had said you can't build churches or private schools in rural areas as part of their upgrade to the Growth Management Act. And we went and fought very hard because, you know, that's part of our Constitution, free exercise of religion. And for a county council to say, you know, you can't remodel a church building or build a private school, that's very unconstitutional in my opinion. And we fought a big battle over there and won, and people recognized my critical role in that. And they gave me an award, flew me out to DC, got to meet a lot of people. It was a lot of fun.
I wanted to follow up on something you said earlier here about how you worked in somehow online. The thing I was wondering is, how has the digital world changed the legal profession, especially in the courts, which is so paper and document intensive?
In the courts and in my law practice, how it's changed a lot is we've moved to basically saving paper, being environmentally friendly by not printing out reams and reams of paper. We now get to read it on this great electronic piece of glass that Steve Jobs and people that have gone on before us have invented. I love to read. My wife kind of says, you know, Charles, you read too much, but I love to read.
Well, I know that former Chelan County Superior Court Clerk Siri Woods made that one of her priorities, is to digitalize everything in the court process.
Yes, and thanks to Siri Woods' work and Kim Morrison, the current Chelan County Clerk, continuing that work, it is all very digitized and very easy to find and access things in accordance with the privacy regulations and statutes.
I'm sure our viewers would like to learn a little bit more about you and how you feel about certain issues. I know that as a judicial candidate, you cannot talk about matters that might come before you on the bench.
Correct.
That's one of the canons that judges have to comply with. But I do have some kind of generic questions that I think that you might be able to answer. First of all, why should judges be elected and not appointed?
Judges need to be elected to give voice to the people of the state, county, whatever local electorate it is that's deciding, because the people in each community sometimes will have a unique take on things, still in accordance with the Constitution and the statutes. But it's very important that people have their voice, their vote. For example, Supreme Court positions that are appointed by the President, that's a very political decision by President Trump, and it was also a very political decision by President Obama. The position I'm running for is a nonpartisan one, and but the voters need to have a say. The voters have to have a say.
Of course, in the news headlines around the country right now is the pending nomination of a new Supreme Court justice to replace Anthony Kennedy. And our president right now is reviewing apparently a list of 25 finalists for that position. And of course, depending on what side of the political stripe you're on, it could be most likely a conservative bent judge. How would you describe yourself at this point? Are you what might be termed as a strict constructionist of the Constitution, or do you more loosely interpret it?
Well, I believe that the principles of our Constitution and the Bill of Rights are there for everybody. The principles are timeless from my perspective, and applying those timeless principles in protecting people's liberty, protecting their property rights, keeping the community safe while still abiding by giving the accused a fair trial. I would say I'd be leaning more, in my personal opinion, I'd be leaning more toward being a strict constructionist rather than trying to read into a document something that's not there. You know, we just celebrated the 4th of July celebration, 242 years of our country. And one of the things in the Declaration of Independence talks about the right to a jury trial. And that's one of the things that that the founders were rallying against King George.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So with that said, what kind of qualities would you be looking for in a Supreme Court justice?
In a Supreme Court justice, I would be looking for somebody who can put aside the political pressures and the political differences and decide the law based on the facts and the record before them in the Court of Appeals, and clearly abide by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And prior, in the law we call it stare decisis, prior precedent, someone that can apply the law and the rules. The Supreme Court by its nature is a policy setting. Right now it seems the Supreme Court in its nature seems to be a policy setting avenue, and usually policy decisions should be made by the legislature. So, but sometimes, you know, it's a little different.
Again, we're talking with Charles Steinberg, who is running as a candidate for the Chelan County Superior Court bench. And of course, he'll be running against the Judge Kristen Ferreira. And that decision will be made in November. Although the names appear on the ballot in the August primary, that's something you won't have to decide until November.
Yeah, I don't think we're actually on the primary ballot.
You're not on the primary?
I don't think we're on the primary ballot
Okay.
because the top two automatically go on to November. And so I think Judge Ferreira and I don't think we're on the ballot.
Well, in closing, I'm sure we'd like to learn a bit more about you personally and privately. You're married?
I'm married.
And what do you and your wife like to do when you're not practicing law?
When we're not doorbelling and practicing law, I enjoy, believe it or not, I enjoy doing irrigation repairs out on our property. We enjoy going up to Chelan and Manson, enjoy going up to Stehekin. We also enjoy bicycling and walking together, hiking the hills here. And our daughter, who's 20 years old, she went through Wenatchee Valley College and the Running Start program, and now she's going to college in Michigan, so we're still shepherding our daughter along a little bit.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Well, Charles, I'll give you the last word. Why should people select you for Chelan County Superior Court Judge?
I believe people should select me for Chelan County Superior Court Judge because experience matters. I've practiced law in the Valley for the past 24 years, representing Chelan County residents and businesses as their trusted legal attorney in all sorts of courts. I've done many trials and hearings, and I think it's very important to give the voters a choice, and I'd like them to log on to votesteinberg.com or make an inquiry on my Facebook page. Just make a choice and consider my credentials.
Good deal. And again, get out and vote, so make your decision be known. I'm Steve Hare. Again, I've been sitting in here for Dan Kuntz on our Wake Up Wenatchee Valley program. Again, thank you very much, Charles, for joining us here on the program. It was wonderful having you on board today. In the meantime, we have a lot more coming up for you, our regular lineup of programs on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley throughout the day. And of course, coming up at 5 o'clock this afternoon, Grant Olson will be our host for our evening news here on NCW Live channel. So stay tuned for that at 5 o'clock. It also re-airs again at 6 and 11, I believe. And then, of course, throughout the day, you can also watch our news on demand on our website at ncwlife.com. Again, I want to remind you folks, if you do see something out there that's newsworthy, we'd like to hear from you. You can email me, Steve Hare, at our generic news at ncwlife.com email address, or you can contact me here at the station at 509-888-2020, and our breaking news hotline here at NCW Life is 888-629-5888-NCWL. Again, thanks to Kat for keeping me under control here this morning. And of course, thanks for Dan Kuntz, who's entrusted me with hosting the program for him while he's out today. But again, Dan will be back tomorrow morning. For now, that's it. Here, let's let's call it a wrap for July 5th. Wake up, Wenatchee Valley. Thanks for joining me. I'm Steve Hare.